So we'll start with the first question. The first question is, the term business cycle refers to what? Okay, so first we'll pick all the wrong answers and we will see why these answers are wrong. Okay, so we have this term business cycle refers to what? Ups and downs in production of commodities. Is it right? No, it's wrong. Why? See, the word ups and downs is very tempting for us. Okay, because business cycle is going up and down. No, so this ups and downs is going to be very confusing to us. But you have to be very sure. Business cycle is all about what? It is all about the aggregate level. No, that's what we've studied. It is the aggregate economic output and the fluctuations in that. So the ups and downs in production of commodities. No, they're not talking about commodities. They're talking about commodities. They're talking about services. They're talking about the entire aggregate demand. Everything they're talking about. So if you say that ups and downs in the production of commodities alone, that is not business cycle. It is the general aggregate level of economic total operations or total actions. So economic operations or economic activities would mean production of commodities, production of services, everything will be inclusive. So this is the wrong answer. Okay, this is wrong. Next one is decline in economic activities over a prolonged period of time. See, over a prolonged period of time, there is a decline in economic activities. Here they are saying that total economic activities is covered here. They are not saying that only production of commodities, they are not saying. They are saying it is the entire economic activities. But they are saying that it is only about the decline. So if it is, they are talking about decline, then it means contraction. Then what? Term business cycle refers to increasing the unemployment rate, and diminishing rate of savings. Of course, this happens when there is contraction. So this line of increasing unemployment rate or diminishing rate of savings happens only when there is a contraction. Okay, so this will come under what? Only for this contraction. So what's the right answer? What is the leftover portion here? Fluctuating levels of economic activity over a period of time. As I've already told you, what is the most important keyword here? There are three keywords: fluctuating, economic activity over a period of time. So fluctuating level of economic activity over a period of time is called as business cycle. This is the most important one. Okay, number two, a significant decline in general economic activity extending over a period of time is called as contraction phase. Decline alone, okay? They are talking about only decline of what? Economic activities over a period of time. It is contraction. So we'll see what is the correct answer. It is contraction phase. Why is it not business cycle? Because business cycle comprises both decline and expansion. Recession. So recession, why are we not choosing recession? I'm again telling you, if I have not ticked the right answer as contraction phase, we might have confused with the recession and contraction, right? Whether we should take recession or contraction. Why should we choose contraction phase? I'm telling you, recession is a term which is used both for contraction and trough. For both the trough, that is trough for depression or recession, you can say. Which means recession is a word that you can use both for contraction as well as trough. So when we are talking especially about contractionary phase, we should not use the word recession. Okay, when you say, okay, we are in a recession, which means it might also mean that we are in depression. So we have to be very sure to use contraction when we are particularly targeting the decline alone. Okay, so that is why we should not use recession. And recovery, you know what is recovery? Recovery is slowly but steadily there is a ray of hope, okay, in the production or in the economic activity. So the answer is contractionary phase. What is the third question? The trough of a business cycle occurs. What is a trough? Trough means a depression or recession. Trough of a business cycle occurs when dash hits the lowest point. Of course, the economic activity hits the lowest point, or the total production capability hits the lowest point. We'll see what. Of course, they say aggregate economic activity reaches the low point. Do you understand? Because when I started to read business cycle, I thought business cycle means the entire capability, production capability. I thought, see, that's how I understood. Entire production capability of a country reaches its highest point, that is peak. I thought like that. But the exact wording is different. What is the exact wording? We are not talking about production capability. They're talking about the aggregate economic activity. Here, the aggregate economic activity is a keyword. Without understanding that or without becoming familiar with these words, we will not be able to crack examination. So make sure aggregate economic activity, when it hits the lowest point, it is called as trough. Okay, third question over. Fourth one, right? So trough of a business cycle occurs when dash hits the lowest point. Unemployment rate hitting the lowest point would mean expansion or peak. Do you understand? Unemployment is zero. It is a low. See, unemployment rate when hits the lowest point would mean what? Unemployment rate hitting the lowest point would mean we are in the expansionary phase. Do you understand? Expansionary, or I would say it is a peak point. That is where unemployment is lowest or where unemployment is zero. At that point, everybody will be working. When everybody works, what will happen to the total production or what will happen to the aggregate economic output? It will be at its peak, no? So, during trough point, what will happen? What hits the lowest point? Aggregate economic activity will hit the lowest point, okay? And then we're talking about what are the other two choices here. The other two choices are inflation in the economy. Inflation in the economy, if it hits the lowest point, we have no direct correlation between inflation of the economy and trough. Because whenever trough is mentioned, trough is usually mentioned when people are ready to work but there is no employment opportunities. People don't want to spend or the demand is zero, and inflation is pretty much low only. It is not going to be very heavy because people are not ready to buy. There is no demand. If there is more demand and low supply, then inflation can happen. Here there is no demand at all. Okay, during trough there is no demand, and that is why you get into the trough situation. So inflation will not hit low. In the sense, there is no direct correlation saying that inflation will be low when there is a trough. There is no direct mentioning of inflation is low when trough is happening. There is no mentioning of that. Okay, and then money supply. Usually there is an understanding, or there is there is an explanation from the point of view of certain economists that when money supply is not there, adequate money supply is not there, recession can happen. And when there is adequate money supply, expansion can happen. This is only from the point of view of certain economists. And there is no direct relationship that has been, established between, okay, more the money supply, it will go to peak. Lowest money supply will reach the trough situation. There is no direct relationship established. So we cannot choose money supply or the inflation or unemployment rate. So what is the evident answer here? The evident answer is aggregate economic activity. So if the word aggregate economic activity is not given, then we might consider, okay, maybe money supply is very low during trough situation. We might consider those things. But the evident answer, which is aggregate economic activity, is being given to you. So you need not worry about the other options at all. Okay. Next one. What is the fourth question? The lowest point in the business cycle is referred to as trough or depression or recession. So you can say, what is it? Trough. Now understand, in the questioning session, for the lowest point, they are not using the word depression. They generally use the word trough. It is an understanding for us. Only after viewing the questioning pattern, we tend to understand that, okay, the lowest point is always meant as trough in the questioning session. But in the book, it was given both as trough, depression, recession, everything. But here in the questioning pattern, for the lowest point, they always refer it to as trough. Okay. Next one. It is not peak, it is not boom, it is not expansion, because they are saying the lowest point. Next one. What do you mean by leading indicator? I have told you leading indicator always changes before the event happens. This is what we understand, right? Now we'll look at the options. Leading indicator is a variable that tends to move in advance of. In advance of means what? Before the event happens. In advance means before the event happens, before you go to a rental place, you give advance, which means before you go and stay, you pay it. That is what advance means, right? So here they're saying that any variable that is indicator will move in advance to that of the aggregate economic activity. Aggregate economic activity, if it is expanding before the aggregate economic activity expands, it is indicator is indicating you in advance, which means indicating is happening before the actual event. So that is why it is called as a leading indicator. Okay, what are the other options they've given us? A variable that tends to move along with the level of economic, along Move along would mean concurrent. Okay, concurrent. Next one, a variable that tends to move consequent on the level of aggregate economic activity. Consequent means after. So now you have understood what are the wordings that they're using, right? For the instead of the word before, they're using the word advance. Instead of the word after the event happening, they're using the word consequent. Okay. And instead of the word event, before the event, after the event, we have discussed, right? So before the event, instead of before, they're using the word advance. Instead of the word event, they're using the word aggregate economic activity. So this is how technical it gets when we actually, go through the questions and answers. Number 6, a variable that tends to move later than the aggregate, that is consequent to or later than. Instead of the word after, they are using it what? They are using it later than. Okay, so this is called as a lagging variable. Okay, there is nothing called as a cyclical variable. There is no term called a cyclical variable. So lagging variable happens only after the aggregate economic activity is done. Coincident or concurrent is when it is moving along. Okay, the indicator is moving along. And then leading is when you have this advance movement. Okay, so what is the 7th question? Industries that are extremely sensitive to the business cycle. I've told you, no, whenever business cycle is changing, those industries that are so sensitive to it are called as a cyclical businesses. So here, what is that cyclical? See, industries that are extremely sensitive to business cycle are called as cyclical business. So here, which is the most cyclical or which is most sensitive to business cycle? Here I've told you, what is the answer? Capital and durable. Yeah, capital goods and durable. You need not see any other answer. The sector that is most closely associated with the business cycle. Whenever business cycle changes, this sector is going to get affected so much, whether positively or negatively. Okay, that is capital and durable sector. I've told you explanation for that, because whenever good times come, we will increase the consumption of a car, jewelry, or any other comfort and luxury item. Okay, so whenever good times happen, the perception or the purchase of capital goods and durable goods like fridge, washing machine, dishwasher will go up. Whenever depression comes or whenever recession comes or whenever the economy is contracting, you will save money for future food expenses rather than to spend on a washing machine. So whenever contraction hits, you will stop consuming the capital goods and durable goods. Whenever boom happens, you will obviously spend your extra promotion income towards the capital income, towards the capital good and the durable goods sector. And that is why this section is very, very, very closely associated with that of business cycle movement. Okay. So now what is the 8th question? A decrease in government spending would cause. I've told you, in the explanation when I gave you monetary policy and fiscal policy is carried over by government, and the government is operating this through two techniques. Number 1, it is to tax. If more tax is collected, money supply will come down. If tax cuts are given, then money supply will go high. And what is the other technique? What is the other technique of fiscal policy? Government is going to spend. It will build bridges, hospitals, etc., etc. So when government spending is done, money supply will go high. When government spending is contracted, money supply will go down. Okay, this is the basic understanding. Now read the question. A decrease in government spending would cause what? Will definitely cause the money supply to go down in the economy. Since the money supply is going down in the economy, automatically demand will also go down. Okay. So what is the answer? The aggregate demand curve will shift to the left. Okay. So always remember, a rightward shift would mean increase in demand and leftward shift would mean decrease in demand. Okay. Leftward shift would mean decrease in demand, because in demand chapter I've told you, price and quantity. Okay. In that we have read, right? There are two demand curves, and I've told you this is demand curve 1 and demand curve 2. So despite the same prices at 10 rupees, last month people were buying only 30 units and this month people are buying 50 units, which means the shift is towards right. Here quantity is increasing from 30 to 50 despite price is not changing. Why is this happening? This is called as rightward shift. So whenever rightward shift happens, it is called as increase in demand. Whenever the shift is happening from 50 to 30, it is called as leftward shift. In the same way, whenever government spending is coming down, as a result, money supply in the economy goes down. As a result, demand comes down. So whenever demand comes down, it will move from 50 to 30, and this is why it is called as left side movement. Okay, remember this. So what are all the other points that they've given you? The aggregate demand curve to shift to the right. If it is shifting to the right, it is called as what? Increase in demand, and that is not going to happen because government spending is going down. Okay. Third one, a movement down and to the right, movement down and to the right along the demand curve. This is not going to happen. A movement down and to the right along the demand curve. So this is not going to happen because I have told you government spending is decreased, right? When government spending is 1,000 rupees, this will be the demand curve. When government's spending is 5,000, this will be the demand curve. When government spending is 5,000, this is the demand curve 2. When government spending is 1,000, this is the demand curve 1. When government spending is coming down from 5,000 to 1,000, what happens here? Actually, the demand is coming from this line, that is from D2 to D1. Do you understand? Because the government spending is contracting, no. Hitherto, the government spending was 5,000. Okay, 5,000 rupees they were spending. So, aggregate demand was heavy. So, now the aggregate demand will come down because the total expenditure done by government is only 1,000. So, the demand will also come down. Exponentially, it will come down. So, now how the changes have happened? It is shifting from demand curve to demand curve 1. Wait a second. Okay, sure. So we're talking about here, right? So when we talk about government expenditure or government spending is decreased, then definitely it is decreased from some amount, 5,000 to 1,000 or 5,000 to 4,000 or like from 5 lakh crore to 4 lakh crore. So there is a decrease in the government spending. So obviously the demand curve is also going to shift from D2 to D1 or D3 to D2 or D4 to D3, which means it is going to shift from one curve to another. So if here the answer is given as there is only one curve, in this curve itself, see here there is a curve, and in this curve itself, people are going to move towards down or towards upside. It is not going to happen because we are shifting. And there is another intricate portion here. What is the most intricate portion here? Because here when we are talking about moving towards right on the same curve, if it is to happen, you have to understand that if this is to happen here, when you are moving downside along the right, actually it means that quantity is increasing. No, whenever the price is decreasing, quantity increases. No, we have studied like that. So here in this portion, I have told you, when price is rupees 50, people tend to buy only small amount of goods. When price goes to 10, people tend to buy heavy goods. So when there is a change in price, change in quantity demanded. When this happens, there is no shift between one curve to the other curve. In the same curve, people tend to move from the upper point to the lower point or lower point to the upper point. This happens. But here also you have to remember, from the uppermost point here, if he is moving towards the downside, it means that there is an increase in the quantity demanded because price has come down. So here they have given this example. Control is it. Okay. So here we have to be very careful. They say the movement down and to the right along the demand curve is not going to be the right answer, because here they're talking about the same demand curve, only one demand curve, and the same demand curve, it is coming right down along the right. Even if they're coming down along the right, it is still going to be wrong, because they are talking about there is only one demand curve. Wait a second. This option, no, this one, it is utterly wrong, because they're talking about only one demand curve, and here if price is 50, people will buy only 10 quantity. If price is only 10, people will buy 100 quantities. So this is the explanation. Now here see the movement down and to the right. For example, here if the movement comes from this point to this point, what does it mean? It comes down, movement down and right along the demand curve. This is what they've given, which means here in the same demand curve, they are coming down. Even if they are coming down, you have to understand they are coming from 10 quantities towards 100 quantities, which means demand is still increasing. No, quantity demanded is increasing. Because of what? Because price is decreasing. Do you understand? So here a movement down and to the right along to the demand curve would mean here also quantity demanded is increasing. But the question is clearly specifying that when government spending goes down, what happens? Money supply goes down. When money supply goes down, demand goes down. Do you understand? Because government spending goes down, money supply goes down, that is all fine. Do you think demand is going down because price of the products has gone up? No. Here price of the products are all remaining the same. Just because government is not spending so much, as a result money supply is not there. Since money supply is not there, people tend to buy less. Here people tend to buy less not because prices has gone up, because of some other reason, which is here government spending. Do you understand? So here we are talking about prices remaining the same. Okay, people were buying so many goods last month, but this month people have reduced their quantity demanded because government spending has gone down. So here people are actually moving from upper curve, that is D2 to D1. This is called as left side movement. Okay. Next one, if you have any doubt, please let me know. And then, which of the following does not occur? And this also, option D also you should remember, a movement up and to the left along with the demand curve. If it is moving from this point to this point, wait a second. If it is moving from this point to this point, here quantity demanded is decreasing, no doubt, but here shifting is not happening. You're just swinging in the same demand curve. That is not going to happen because here demand is not going down because of a change in price. Price level or the general price level of all the products, goods, services are all remaining the same. But people are not buying like before, and they have reduced their demand because government spending has gone down, because the money supply has gone down, because they don't have enough money to buy. That is the reason why they have reduced their demand, and not because prices of the products has gone up. So you really have to be very careful whenever we are talking about increase in demand or decrease in demand that is caused not by change in prices but by something else that is related to shifting. You have to shift from D1 to D2 or D2 to D1. Okay. Next question, which of the following does not occur during an expansion? Let us see. None of the above is given as the answer. Let's see each and every option. See, they are asking which does not occur. Sorry. They are asking which does not occur. So first what we are going to do, here they are mentioning two keywords. One, they are mentioning expansion. Number two, they are mentioning does not occur. Please understand, these types of question will definitely confuse you in the main exam, because here they are giving you two instructions for you. First of all, you have to remember the keyword expansion, and second of all, you have to remember the technical word does not occur. So which of the following does not occur during an expansion? They are not asking which of the following occurs during expansion. Now you have to mindfully understand the question. What is the actual question that they're trying to ask you? Which of the following does not occur in expansion? Or you can also understand this question as which of the following occur during contraction? Do you understand? Which of the following occur during contraction? Those that occur in contraction will not occur in expansion, right? Do you understand? This is the way in which they are confusing you. So when I was in my student age, okay, when I did my MCQs, whether it's for any entrance exam, what I used to do was, when they're asking these type of questions, I will not get trapped into their, technicality. What I'll do is, first of all, I'll read the sentence. Consumer purchases of all types of goods tend to increase. Whether this happens during expansion or contraction, this happens during expansion, right? So I'll write this happens during expansion. I'll read the second one. Employment increases as demand for labor rises. So employment increases as demand for labor. Okay, this will happen only during expansion or boom period. Number 3, business profit and business confidence tend to increase. All these 3 things are related to expansion. Now, what is the question? I'll go and read the question now for a clarity. Because while reading all the 3 points, I was totally unmindful of the question. I did not remember what is the question and all. I was totally focusing only on the options given. And I read every single option and I just wrote whether this happens during expansion or contraction. That's all. If even one single sentence is relating to contraction, then that would be the answer for the above question. Since all the options given, all the three options given in this question number 9 relates to expansion. Here they are asking which does not occur during expansion, and then you come to the options you've written. All these items happen during expansion. So which does not occur? Everything occurs. So the answer is none of the above. Am I making my point clear to you? I really do not know, because I'm just overwhelmed, because in examination, when these type of questions are being given, first of all, they're trying to overwhelm you. They're trying to trick your mind by twisting the question. See, instead of giving this question like which does not occur during expansion, they might have given this simple question, no? Which of the following happens during contraction? Simple, no? Which of the things happen during contraction? You will read everything happens in expansion, nothing happens in contraction, go to none of the above. But here they are twisting your mind. Instead of directly giving the question as which happens during contraction, they are asking you which does not happen during the expansion. So here you will understand, you will keep these 2 things in mind while going through the 3 options. So now you will be overburdened with which does not occur during expansion, and you read the 3 options keeping in mind these 2 things. So instead of that, when you go to examination, when they are twisting the questions like this, just take your time, read all the 3 options and come to a conclusion and see whether this happens during expansion or contraction, right? Okay, you write, okay, this happens during expansion, E. Okay, idukku C, iduk E. And then now go to the question. Okay, you now go to the question and say which does not occur during expansion. If something is not happening during expansion, it will happen during what? Contraction. So the answer is which happens in the contraction. So whether any of the option has C into it, okay, this is C, okay, this is the right answer. Or if everything is E, then go to the none of the above. So this is how you can escape the trap that is being set for you in the examination hall. Question number 10. Which of the following best describes a typical business cycle? Which of the following best describes a typical business cycle? No, they are not asking you about expansion or depression or contraction. They are asking you in fully they are asking you. Number 1. Economic expansions are followed by economic contractions. Okay. Obviously, expansions and contractions, they happen alternatively. Okay. Inflation is followed by rising income and unemployment. Whenever inflation is very heavy, only prices of the products go high. Incomes don't go high. And unemployment will go high during inflation. There is no direct relationship at all. Now, economic expansions are followed by economic growth and development. See, economic expansion is what? Economic growth and development. Why should economic expansion will be followed by economic growth and development? Actually, this is like, it's like instead of economic expansion, wait a second. Instead of the word economic expansion, it can also be said as economic growth and development. No, you're saying that economic growth and development are followed by economic growth and development. Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense, right? See, for example, red follows red. Is it right? No, red is followed by anti-red. That is the correct answer. See, for example, imagine your expansion is black. Expansion, black. Contraction, white. Which means black is followed by white, white is followed by black. Here they are giving you economic expansion, economic growth are one and the same, no? Here they are saying that white is followed by white. Is it right? No, it's wrong. Next one. Stagflation is followed by inflation. See here, business, in the business cycle, they are not at all talking about inflation, deflation, stagflation, price increase or price decrease. They are not talking about anything. They are just talking about aggregate economic activity. In fact, during the business cycle or the business cycle, they are explaining in terms of production capability only. They are not talking about aggregate money supply. They're not talking about inflation, deflation and all. Inflation, deflation, it is happening as a consequence to the business cycle. See, when there is a boom period, obviously price level might go high. So inflation happens during expansion period. And whenever there is no demand at all and demand is falling rapidly during contractionary phase, inflation comes down. These are all is the resultant effect of a business cycle. But business cycle is not at all defined by inflation, deflation, stagflation. So you should be very sure when attending these type of questions where they are asking you which describes a business cycle. Business cycle can be described only by aggregate economic activity. And here they are saying that economic expansion is are followed by economic contractions. That's all. Everything else is not, it doesn't make sense at all. Okay. And then during recession, unemployment rate dash and output dash. Unemployment rate goes high and output falls during recession. Yes. Yeah, rises and falls. You need not see anything else because you know pretty well. Right. Next one. The 4 phases of business cycle are expansion, peak, contraction, trough. That's all. Don't see anything else. That's all. Peak, depression, bust. Depression and bust are one and the same. So this is wrong. Expansion, contraction, peak, trough. Expansion will lead to peak. Contraction will lead to trough. Okay. So expansion, contraction, peak, trough. All the 4 stages are included here, but not in the series, right? Expansion, next peak, contraction, next trough. But here they say expansion they have given, contraction they have given, and then they have given the what? Peak and then trough. Okay, the serial number should be different, no? So here only the serial number is correct. Expansion, peak, contraction, trough. In examination, don't get confused, okay? It should happen in the serial order, in the consequential order. First expansion, then peak, then contraction, then trough. Here contraction, expansion, trough, boom. Boom is also, boom and expansion are one and the same. Here they have not given peak, so that is also wrong. Okay. In examination, you might get confused between A and C. But remember, here it is given in the pakka orderly manner. First expansion, peak, contraction, trough. Or they must have started with contraction, trough, then expansion, peak. Somehow the order should come, no. Either it should go from this to this, or if they are explaining, they are starting from contraction, trough, expansion, peak. Some order should be there. Since the order is not here, it is the wrong answer. Next one, 13th one. Leading economic indicators are what? Leading economic indicators are used to forecast probable shift in the economic policies. No. Probable shift in economic activities. So since activities is not given, it is the wrong answer. Okay. Leading economic indicators are generally used to forecast economic fluctuations. Economic fluctuation in the sense economic activities fluctuations. Okay. Here they are talking about leading economic indicators are indicators of stock prices. No, they have never said to us, or they've never told us that leading indicators means only stock prices. They have never said. Stock prices are just an example of leading indicator. And it is never said leading economic indicators are indicators of stock prices only. They have never said that. And one more thing also, stock, see here they are telling you that leading economic indicators are indicating what? They are indicating the stock prices of economy. No, it is not like that. Actually, leading indicator is indicating the future fluctuations in the economic activities. Okay. One such leading indicator is a stock price. Stock price is also a leading indicator because before Tesla gets the profit or makes the profit out of its business, Tesla or stock prices goes up. So here stock price is a leading indicator saying that in future economic performance of Tesla or economic performance of the country as a whole might go up or go down. Okay, so next one the leading indicators are indicators of probable recession and depression. No, leading indicators will indicate the probable depression, recession, expansion, boom, everything it will indicate, which means it is a common indicator for the economic fluctuations. It's not a specific or especially it will indicate only recession, depression alone. It will not indicate boom. There is nothing like that. Okay, they are just confusing us. Leading economic indicators are generally used to forecast economic fluctuations. That's all. Okay. So stock prices, no, it is not indicating stock prices, and it is not just indicating recession and depression. It can also indicate expansions and boom. And then 14th one, when aggregate economic activity is declining, the economy is said to be in what? Definitely in contraction mode only. When aggregate economic activity hits the lowest point, it is trough. Okay, hitting lowest point and hitting the upper point, or upper circuit and lower circuit is what we say. So this is like the circuit going up and down. So when we have the uppermost point, it is peak, and we have the lowest point, it is called as the trough. Okay, so here we are talking about the 15th question. Peaks and trough of the business cycle are known collectively as what? Here they are talking about, since it is up, it's going on an upward motion, and before turning down it reaches peak, and before it is turning upside it is reaching trough, so it is called as the turning points. Okay, volatility, equilibrium points, or real business cycle event. There is nothing called as real business cycle. Business cycle is inclusive of expansion, contraction, boom and depression, everything. Okay, so it is not that only these peak and trough alone is the most important or real business cycle event. There is nothing like that. So this is complete nuisance. Equilibrium is not at all related here. What is equilibrium? Equilibrium is like when two people agree to the same point. That is called as equilibrium. You reach an equilibrium when you want to buy the apple for 10 rupees and I want to sell the apple for 10 rupees. That is called as equilibrium. Both of us reach the same point. Here, peak and depression and boom and expansion, contraction, nothing is related to what two people agree to. So equilibrium points is a nuisance. And volatility is fluctuations going up and down and up and down. So here peak and trough is not actually explaining up and down, up and down. It is the up and down alone. So here the correct answer is what? It is the turning points. Okay. The next one, 16th question. The most probable outcome of an increase in the money supply. Obviously, money supply is increasing, demand will increase. Okay, and aggregate demand will increase. When aggregate demand increases, automatically we move to the expansion mode. This is what I know. Okay, and moreover, whenever they are asking you some question that is in relation to money supply, always remember money supply can be related only to two events, either to monetary policy or fiscal policy. When monetary policy is given, monetary policy is decided by Reserve Bank of India and fiscal policy is decided by the government. When money supply has to be increased, what should be done? The rate of interest, at which the money is being lent to the people by Reserve Bank of India. Actually, Reserve Bank of India lends to commercial bank, and then commercial bank will lend to people. So the rate of interest, if it is very, very, very low, what will happen? People tend to buy a lot. People tend to borrow a lot of money. So the money supply increases. Do you understand? So when rate of interest is low, or when rate of interest is falling, money supply will go high. And when money supply has to go down, automatically what will Reserve Bank of India do? Reserve Bank of India will increase the rate of interest. So there is high rate of interest will lead to low money supply, and low rate of interest will lead to high money supply. This can happen whenever question is being asked regarding the money supply, or when they're asking about fiscal, fiscal policy, monetary policy and fiscal policy, government, whenever government spending, when we talk about government spending, whenever government spend, what happens? Money is being infused into the economy, so money supply goes up. When government spending goes down, money supply goes down. Adhe madri, when tax goes up, people tend to pay tax to government. So all the money from the people go to the government. As a result, money supply goes down. And when tax is being cut or tax rate is going down or tax collection is going down, then money supply will go up. So just remember this as a table. Whenever any question is given to you regarding money supply, be very specific. Okay, so here what is the question they're asking? The most probable outcome of an increase in the money supply. What when money supply is increased? And see, they are all the questions is related to interest rate. So interest rate will tend to fall if money supply has to increase. So how many options have interest rates to fall? You have C option interest rate to fall and D option interest rate to fall. Next one, investment spending to rise. Okay, here investment spending to fall. Whenever there is huge money supply, people tend to spend more. No, whether it is investment spending or consumer spending, they'll spend more. So here it is fall. So it's wrong. And then aggregate demand will rise. Here aggregate demand will fall in Portugal. This is wrong. So this is the right answer. And 17th question. Which of the following is not a characteristic of a business cycle? Okay. Number 1. Again, this is a twisted question. Here they might ask you, which of the following is a characteristic of business cycle? You can easily tick. Okay, here they are giving you which is not a characteristic. So first you read the option and write whatever you want to write there, and then go to the question again and then read the options again and come to a conclusions. Business cycle have serious consequences on the well-being of the society. Okay, definitely it has a good chances, of course. When it goes to depression, people suffer. So yes, this point is correct, which means it is a business cycle's feature. Yes, it is a feature of business cycle. It's true. Number 2, another business cycles occur periodically. Of course, it is periodically, although they do not exhibit the same kind of amount, length, intensity. Yeah, this is also correct only. True statement about business cycle. And then business cycle have uniform characteristics and causes or no, it is not at all uniform. See, only one thing is uniform. What is it? First expansion happens, then it will go to peak, then it will be contracting, then it will go to depression. That's all. That is the only thing that will happen. Everything else, okay, how many years it lasted, how many years the expansion of the last business cycle lasted, maybe 3 years. This time it will be 5 years. Last time it was only very light feeling. This time it is all so much. People suffered heavily due to contraction last time, and people suffering this time is comparatively lesser only because it is man-made and it was rectified so soon, which means every business cycle is unique. Every business cycle's characteristics are very unique. And what made a business cycle? For example, 2008 financial crisis is caused by different one because of the housing crisis. .com bust in 2000 was happened because of internet boom and bust. And then 1929 depression was caused because of what? Because of stock market crash. So every business cycle or every expansion boom or peak or bust happens because of different causes, right? So not that every business cycle is being caused because of this particular reason. It is totally wrong. So this sentence is wrong. So business cycle are contagious and unpredictable. Is it unpredictable? Of course, it's totally unpredictable. You can say after expansion comes peak, after peak goes contraction. You can say this United States is not going in the right direction. Kandipa in the future it is going to go down. It is going to experience contraction, you can say, but you can never say it is going to experience contraction in 1957. You can't say the exact year. So it is very unpredictable and it is very contagious. Why? What do you mean by contagious? What do you mean by contagious disease? If you have the disease, I'll get transmitted. It will get transmitted to me. That is called as contagious. So contagious means if something happens in USA, it will affect India. Yes, that is how business cycles work. Business cycle, if one country is experiencing an expansionary phase, definitely the other countries will also benefit from that. If one country is going through recessionary phase, then other countries will also get affected by it. That is why it is called as contagious and unpredictable, correct? Which means now they're asking you the answer which does not exhibit the characteristic feature of a business cycle. Option is C. Question number 18. Economic recession shares all of these characteristics except So first you have to read all the options and put tick towards where it is the characteristic feature of recession, and put a wrong sign where it is not the characteristic of the recession, and then you will get the answer. Recession. So we'll see what are recession. You have to keep only one keyword in your mind, recession. Now see the answer. What is the answer? Fall, option A. Fall in the levels of investment and employment. Of course, this is the correct one. Yes, this happens in the recession. Incomes of wage, that is earnings, will go down. Interest earners gradually decline, resulting in decreased demands. Yes, this is also correct. And then investor confidence is adversely affected because nobody will invest during recession, correct. And new investments may not occur. Yes, this is also correct. And then increase in the price of inputs due to increased demand for inputs. See, first of all, you should understand what do you mean by input. Okay, I have already taught you, but you should not get confused in the examination hall, because 5 marks is very much important to us. What do you mean by input? Input can be divided into 4. It is called as factors of production. Input means factors of production: land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. Okay, for land you give rent, for labor you give wages, for capital you pay interest money, and for entrepreneur they are expecting profit. So here, increased demand for input. First of all, let me tell you, when will there be increased demand for land, labor, capital, entrepreneur? Only when there is increased demand for consumption. During recessionary phase, generally aggregate demand will fall down. That is, consumption will fall down. People won't buy much. People will postpone their buying of any consumer durable good or capital good or any good for that matter. Generally, aggregate demand, consumption, no, that will go down. When demand is down, why is that? Producers are going to demand a lot of land, labor, capital, entrepreneur in order to produce more, because there's no need to produce more because people are not ready to buy. Already produced units are sitting there in the godown without people buying. People are not buying. So here in recessionary phase, what happens is people will lose their job because there is no need for production at all. Since people lose their job, what happens? No labor is needed, wages are cut, there is no proper employment opportunities, which means if labor is not needed, land is not needed, capital is not needed, and entrepreneur profit also he is not going to expect, because he doesn't expect people to buy his products even if it is produced. So generally, whenever there is a recessionary phase, remember, whenever there is a recessionary phase, there is a general decline in demand of consumption. Whenever there is a decline in demand, automatically there is also a decline in demand for land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. So whenever there is a decline in demand for inputs, these put together is called as input. Whenever there is a decline in demand for input, automatically what will happen? There is a decline in price of inputs. Decline in price of, what is the input price for labor? Input price for labor, what is it? It is wages. Do you think there is an increase in price of input? Do you think that there is an increase in wages because of increased demand for input? First of all, there is no increased demand in input because there is no demand for the output. There is no demand for output in the recessionary phase, so there is no demand for input also. Since there is no demand for input, automatically input prices will go down and it will not go up. Okay, I have made my point, I guess. So the answer is D. Next one, the different phases of a business cycle. What happens? Different phases of a business cycle do not have the same length and severity. Correct. They do not have the same length and all that. Severity means intensity. I have a severe fever, like that. Okay. One time fever might be severe. The other time business cycle might be lighter. Other time it will be very severe. So it depends upon. And then the different phases of a business cycle, expansion phase always last more than 10 years or no, last many years and are difficult to get over in short periods. So no, sometimes it might last only for like 6 months or 1 year also. Which means the different phases of a business cycle do not have the same length and severity is the answer. Other portions are wrong. Now, which of the following is not an example of coincident indicator? Which of the following is not an example of coincident indicator? I have told you whenever new orders come, okay, even before the economy is booming, after 6 months, some product has to be delivered. Before 6 months or before 8 months itself, you will receive new orders that has to be produced after 8 months. Now, this is a signal that is happening. This is a signal. I've told you, signal that boom is going to happen. So, this one is related to leading indicator. Everything else, when sales happens, it is happening. Concurrently, it is happening. Coincidentally, it is happening. Retail sales, inflation, industrial production, everything. Production is a real, see, whenever something is actually happening in physically, production, it has to happen. Sales, it has to happen. Inflation, it has to happen. Only if it happens, you will know that those comes under coincident. Okay. Those things that can happen even before the actual event happens. For example, new orders for plant and equipment. Stock prices going up, it can go up even before the profit happens. So these are all called as leading indicator. The next one. According to Dash, trade cycles occur due to onset of innovation. Innovation means computer only. There is no other doubt. And then for this, you have to read those 4 points I've told you. According to Hawtree, what is business cycle? According to a Scumpeter, and we have written, no, those 4 points you have to remember. Then economic indicators are what? A one stroke solution to check the phase of economy. Indicators showing the movement of economy. No, economic indicators are 3 in number. They are not showing the movement and all that. Okay. Some activities which predict the direction of economy. Of course, it is a prediction method, that's all. Just an illusion. No, it is not an illusion, it is true. It is not one stroke solution. Indicators showing the movement. No, showing the movement would mean it is coincident only. Since we are talking about all the indicators put together, leading, coincident and lagging, all the indicators put together we are talking about. So if you say it is used to predict the direction in which economy is going to, because it's an indication only, no. Indication, indicator, it is indicating that something is going to happen or something has happened, or it is confirming that something has happened. Lagging indicator will confirm that something has happened, which means it is going to predict the direction in which the country is going or economy is going. So some activities which predict the direction of the economy. So this is one question. Please remember, you should not get confused in the examination. Okay, the correct answer is what? Some activities which predict the direction of the economy. Next one. Okay, 23rd. Which economic indicator is required to predict the turning point of business cycle? Yella indicator is necessary dana to show when it is going to turn from up to down or down to up. For that, you need both leading, coincident, and lagging. Everything you need know to predict. But sometimes we get we get confused because of the usage of word predict. Who can predict something happening? Leading indicator can alone predict, no. So sometimes we get to, we might get confused, which is required to predict the turning point of business cycle. Of course, even I would get confused and go to the answer as, okay, maybe leading indicator is the indicator that is required to predict the turning point of business cycle. Wait a second, I'll check again. The answer I'll check again. 23rd, okay. I don't think I have the answer here. Do I have it? Okay, I'll check and let you know. All of the above or whether the leading alone. 23rd. We'll see and find it out, because even I get a confusion. Maybe when it is about the prediction, it might be no. Actually, here chapter 5 is not separately given. Inside chapter 4, chapter 5 is hidden. So if you're reading in the book, be careful. 23rd, what is the answer? D only they've given. Okay, 23D only. Okay. So just remember, economic indicator that is required to predict the turning point of business cycles are all the indicators. Okay, all the indicators put together. Okay, next one. Business cycle generally originates in the free market economy. Says it is true only, true statement. Because whenever there is a government's interference, business cycle generally doesn't originate, because they know that expansion or trough or peak should not happen, in a very unexpected way. What is a free economy? What is a free market economy? Where economy or private firm controls everything. Government, there is no governmental control. So economy where government is in possession of major assets, this is China. This is the not free market, where economies the private firms control major assets. Example, USA. You can also say India also, because nowadays only two families outwardly they hold more properties and they hold major assets of the country. The economy where decisions of productions are taken by public sector undertaking. Public sector undertaking would come under the socialism only. So it's not free market economy. The economy where price is controlled by government, it is also socialism only. So answer is very much pretty clear, where private firms are controlling the major assets. Then next one, 25th question. Which of the following statement is correct? The business cycle largely affects the agriculture sector. It actually affects what? Consumer durables, capital sector. The business cycle largely affects the small employees. The business cycle affects all sectors of the economy, but business sector in particular. See, general way, I'll tell you this. This remember, please remember. These people are picking question in a very, very okay. Now, business cycle. And there are two sectors. One is agriculture, and the other one is business. They are not talking about whether it is manufacturing or service sector at all. They are just bifurcating the activities into two, agri and business. And in business, they are dividing this into two. One is capital and consumer durable. And remember all the others. Okay, consumer non-durable, perishable, blah, 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 anything. Okay. So now remember, the questions might be asked to you this way. Business cycle affects. Whenever business cycle happens, which sector gets affected more? Agrarian society, that is agriculture sector or business sector, which is getting affected more because of this expansion, trough, peak, depression. It is business is affected more. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Okay, business is affected more. And in business, which sector is affected more? Capital and consumer durable it is affected more. Okay. The other sector, general consumer non-durable sector, perishable goods sector, or certain sector which is not at all prone to any changes. So there is other sector. You need not remember this one. Just remember consumer and capital goods, durable. That is most affected because of business cycle, and generally when compared to agri or business, business is affected more because of the business cycle. Then business cycle generally affects all the sector of the economy, but business sector in particular is getting more affected than the agrarian society. Then the business cycle affects the low wage worker. It affects everybody, not just low wage worker. It affects the entire economy. Next one, according to Keynes, fluctuations in economic activities are due to what? Effective demand. If demand is more, it leads to expansion. When demand is less, it leads to contraction. This is what Keynes believed. So aggregate effective demand causes fluctuation in the business cycle, or that is causing the business cycle, is believed by whom? Keynes. So you have to be very, very careful. What are the other options given? Innovations as computer. More money supply, I think it was given by Hartrain, I'm not very sure. Fluctuation in agricultural output, nobody gave. And one person said optimistic and pessimistic view of people is causing business cycle. Who told that? Pigot. Okay, remember these things. Which of the following is the cause of business cycle? fluctuation in the effective demand, fluctuation in investment, government spending, everything will cause the business cycle. So all of the above. Fluctuations in investment, fluctuations in government spending, because of innovation, because of pessimism, because of psychological factors, anything can cause a business cycle. And then economists use changes in a variety of activities to measure the business cycle and to predict where the economy is headed towards, which are called indicators. Use changes in a variety of activities. Indicator. Okay, this one is correct. Next one we have, if the growth rate of population is higher, barometer, clues, signals. Okay, indicator is a signal only, but then you can't use the word signal because indicator is a technical word, so use that, that's all. And then if the growth rate of population is higher than the rate of economic growth, அப்ப savings will be less, lesser savings. Yes, நம்ம வந்து கண்டிப்பா கிளாஸ்ல படிச்சோம்ல, அதனால பரவாயில்ல, ஒண்ணா நம்ம படிச்சது வருது. The cop-up theory வந்து Nicole Caldara. Who is that? Nicholas Calder. அவ்வளவுதான், முடிஞ்சிச்சா? Habada, we finished the business cycle, 31 marks given. So this should give you a great idea about how to attend the questions from business cycle, and you can also take the mock test papers and all that, and find the time to check out all the questions from business cycle. If you have any doubt, please do ask me. Okay, thank you so much for your patience in listening to all these 30 questions. I hope this might have given you a lot of enlightenment into how to attend these questions or how to attend the MCQs in the first place. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day.